She ignorantly fell in love with a university cultist and lost herself in the relationship. This is the story of Jessica and Emmanuel. A cultist love. Jessica was 19 years old. She was tall, black, beautiful. Her beauty was a crown, but it was wrapped in poverty. She came from a small village where people struggled to eat. Her father was a poor farmer, her mother sold firewood. They could barely afford clothes, let alone pay university fees. Jessica grew up wearing torn sandals, sometimes walking miles barefoot to school. But Jessica had a burning dream. She wanted more than village life. She wanted to escape poverty, to become educated, to lift her family from shame. Every night she studied with a kerosene lamp, praying her efforts would bring change. Finally, her hard work paid off. She won a small scholarship that allowed her to enter university. When Jessica first arrived on campus, she felt like a stranger in a rich man's world. Students wore designer clothes, used expensive phones, and lived in big hostels. Jessica only had one pair of shoes and 2 dresses. Yet she promised herself, "I will not remain poor forever. My life will change." It was in her second month that she saw him, Emmanuel. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself like a king. His voice was deep, his smile disarming. He wore gold chains, fine clothes, and even had a car. Whenever Emmanuel walked through campus, whispers followed him. "That's Emmanuel, he's a cultist. Dangerous man." Jessica had heard of cultists before, young men in secret groups, bound by blood oaths, feared by students, hunted by police. They fought rival groups, shed blood, and gained wealth through dark means. But when Emmanuel's eyes met Jessica's for the first time outside the library, something inside her stirred. Emmanuel noticed her too. Unlike other girls who chased him, Jessica was shy and quiet. She kept her head down, books clutched to her chest. One evening, he offered to carry her books. She refused at first, but he insisted with a smile. He started walking her home from the library, buying her food, calling her queen. Jessica tried to resist. She remembered the warnings. But each day Emmanuel's presence grew stronger. He was charming, protective, and showered her with gifts she had never dreamed of. "You deserve better, Jessica," he told her one night. "With me, you will never suffer again." Her heart melted. For the first time, Jessica felt wanted. Their love burned quickly. Within weeks, Jessica found herself unable to sleep without hearing Emmanuel's voice. He bought her shoes, clothes, a smartphone, and filled her fridge with food. He took her to restaurants where she ate meals she had never seen before. Her friends grew jealous. "Jessica is dating a cultist," they whispered. "She will regret it." But Jessica didn't care. She had been poor all her life. Now she was living like a queen. Emmanuel was her world. Emmanuel's money transformed Jessica's life completely. She left the cheap hostel and moved into a furnished apartment off campus. She wore designer clothes, braided her hair in the most expensive salons, and walked with new confidence. Her parents were shocked when she started sending money home. "God has blessed me," she told them. But deep down, Jessica knew Emmanuel was the source. And Emmanuel's wealth was not ordinary. Strange things began to happen. Sometimes Emmanuel returned at night with blood on his shirt. Sometimes he disappeared for days, returning with wads of cash. One night, Jessica followed him secretly. She saw him and other young men in black robes, holding candles in the bush. They chanted, poured drinks on the ground, and swore oaths. Jessica trembled. She realized Emmanuel's wealth was tied to blood and spirits. An elderly campus cleaner, Mama Grace, noticed Jessica with Emmanuel. She pulled Jessica aside one morning. "My daughter, leave that boy. His money is not clean. His path leads to blood and tears. If you remain, his curse will be your curse. Jessica forced a smile but ignored the warning. She loved Emmanuel too much. Soon the campus grew tense. Rival cult groups began fighting. Students were stabbed in hostels, some disappeared without a trace. One evening, Emmanuel rushed into Jessica's apartment, his hands stained with blood. "Jessica, never betray me," he said fiercely. "You are mine. Forever." Her heart shook, but she said nothing. Jessica's wealth increased, but her peace vanished. She began to dream of dark figures whispering her name. Sometimes she woke with snake-like marks on her skin. When she looked in the mirror, her eyes sometimes glowed faintly. Her friends began to avoid her. One whispered, "Jessica, there's something strange about you now." But Jessica was too deep in love to leave Emmanuel. One night, Emmanuel confessed, "Jessica, for you to remain with me, you must take the oath. You must be part of us." Jessica froze. She knew the cult oaths were binding. Once taken, there was no escape. But she thought of the riches, the life she now had, and her poor family depending on her. Greed fought with fear in her chest. At last, she whispered, "I will do it." In the middle of the night, Emmanuel led Jessica into the bush. Candles glowed, drums beat, and cultists chanted. Jessica was made to kneel. They cut her palm, mixing her blood with Emmanuel's. A black ring was placed on her finger. "From today," the leader declared, "you are bound to Emmanuel. In life, in death, and beyond." Jessica's heart pounded. She felt the ground shake, and a shadow passed over her soul. After the ritual, Jessica's life became stranger. Her beauty grew unnaturally, men could not stop staring at her. But so did the darkness. She often saw blood dripping from her hands in her dreams. At night, Emmanuel's touch felt icy, not warm. Her mother called from the village, crying, "Jessica, ever since you started sending us money, sickness has entered this house." Jessica wept, but she could not explain. The cult wars reached their peak. Emmanuel was haunted by rivals. Shootings broke out on campus. Students fled, lecturers warned them to stay indoors. Jessica begged him to leave, but Emmanuel only said, "I cannot. This is my destiny. And now it is yours too." One night, the war reached Jessica's doorstep. Emmanuel staggered into her apartment, his shirt soaked with blood. He fell into her arms. "Jessica, forgive me," he whispered. Then his eyes went cold. Jessica screamed, but there was nothing she could do. Emmanuel was dead. But the black ring on her finger began to burn. She cried and tried to remove it, but it would not come off. From that night, Jessica was never free. She dropped out of university. People said she had gone mad. At night, she saw Emmanuel's shadow sitting at the edge of her bed. Sometimes she heard his voice calling her name, his breath on her neck. The oath had tied them together, even in death. Years later, Jessica's story became a warning. Students whispered that her ghost still roamed the campus at night, tall and beautiful, her braided hair flowing, her eyes glowing faintly. Some said she was cursed to wander forever, searching for Emmanuel. And mothers warned their daughters, "Do not fall in love with cultists. Riches gained in blood will cost you more than you can pay." This was the tragic folklore of Jessica and Emmanuel, the cultist love. A story of beauty, greed, passion, and the heavy price of walking with darkness. Please subscribe to our channel, like, share, and comment for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching.